What if everything you know about reality is incomplete? What if an ancient Egyptian figure held the key to immortality and the true nature of consciousness? His name was Thoth. He wasn't just a god or a legend, but a force that existed beyond time. He kept knowledge so powerful that his teachings were said to help people live forever. You can find his influence in ancient mystery schools, in Hermeticism, and even in modern spiritual ideas. But Thoth's most valuable knowledge, the secrets about rising to a higher state, the nature of reality, and the laws of existence, was hidden away. It was buried under myths, changed over time, and kept secret on purpose. Why was this done? Who gains from keeping humans in the dark? And what happens when we finally get back what was lost? To understand Thoth's mystery, we need to go back to where it all began, the birth of a god unlike any other. In all the gods of ancient times, few stand out like Thoth. He was more than a deity or a myth. He was like a force of nature, a cosmic designer who shaped the foundations of knowledge, time, and reality itself. In Egyptian myths, Thoth was known as Jehuti, the divine writer. He measured the heavens, wrote down what gods and people did, and held the keys to unseen forces that control existence. He was the mind behind the balance of the universe, the creator of language, the master of wisdom, and the guardian of hidden knowledge. Thoth didn't just belong to ancient Egypt. His influence stretches across time, showing up in different ages with different names, always guiding and watching. Unlike other gods who stayed in the myths of their own people, Thoth was timeless. People said he was there at the beginning of creation, watching the cosmos come into being. The Egyptians believed that without him, the world would fall into chaos. They thought the very fabric of reality depended on his presence. He wasn't just a god, he was the mind of the universe. Thoth was often shown as a man with an ibis head, a sign of smart thinking and the ability to connect with the divine. The ibis bird, known for seeing things clearly, stood for precision and the search for hidden truths. Sometimes he appeared as a baboon, another sacred animal linked to wisdom. While his image became well known in Egyptian art, his presence went beyond pictures and statues. Thoth's knowledge wasn't meant for everyone. The ancients believed his teachings were so powerful that they had to be kept in a way that only truly ready people could find them. Thoth was said to have written the deepest secrets of existence into sacred texts. These books were so powerful that reading them gave the reader amazing wisdom, or, if they weren't worthy, complete madness. These writings, called the Books of Thoth, were thought to contain the very fabric of reality. They talked about the mysteries of life, death, and the paths to a higher state of being. They were hidden from the world, buried or locked away to prevent their misuse. But even as centuries passed and civilizations rose and fell, Thoth's wisdom never vanished. His ideas showed up in the mystery schools of Egypt, where only those who were initiated could learn pieces of his knowledge. His presence appeared in Greek traditions, where he was combined with Hermes, creating the figure known as Hermes Trismegistus, or thrice great Hermes. This connection between Thoth and Hermes isn't a coincidence. Both were seen as divine messengers, beings that moved between physical and spiritual worlds, sharing cosmic truths with those ready to listen. The Kybalion, a text based on Hermetic ideas, echoes Thoth's principles. It supports the idea that the universe works on unchangeable hidden laws. But what if the real truths, the ones not written down, the ones too powerful for everyone, are still out there? What if the real secrets of Thoth can only be found by those who look in the right places? Some knowledge is too big, too dangerous to be shared openly. That's why we've created Insights Academy. We go into these mysteries more than can be discussed here. Sign up now through the link in the description. for a limited time, get a free copy of the Kybalion. Thoth wasn't just a writer, a historian, or a wise old god. He was a force that went beyond time. His name changed, but his message stayed the same. Knowledge is power, but not all knowledge should be shared freely. His teachings, coded in sacred texts and hidden traditions, point to a real truth. In this truth, consciousness isn't just awareness, but an active force that shapes the world around us. What did Thoth truly know about the mind, the universe, and the nature of existence? And why do those who seek his wisdom always find more than they expected? To answer these questions, we must look at the greatest mystery of all, the legendary Emerald Tablets. Some say they're a myth. Others believe they hold the secrets of reaching a higher state. Either way, what's written on them has the power to break everything you thought you knew. The Emerald Tablets have an air of mystery, power, and something forbidden. What if I told you that these tablets hold knowledge that could change the very fabric of reality? Hidden in their words is a map not just to wisdom, but to something much greater. The tablets contain the secrets of living forever, the nature of consciousness, and the structure of existence itself. The Emerald Tablets aren't ordinary texts. They're said to be the direct writings of Thoth, created thousands of years ago, long before recorded history. Unlike other ancient texts, they're believed to be indestructible, not affected by time, untouched by decay, lasting through the ages as if they were never meant to be lost. Stories say that Thoth, having knowledge beyond human understanding, carved the tablets in an unknown material. It was something beyond metal, beyond stone, something unbreakable and eternal. It's said that these inscriptions were made to preserve the ultimate truths, the kind that could solve the mysteries of life, death, and ascension. But as powerful as they weren't meant for just anyone. Thoth, the great keeper of wisdom, understood that knowledge in the wrong hands isn't enlightenment, but destruction. That's why the tablets were hidden, locked away in secret places, buried beneath the sands of time, waiting for those worthy to find them. But what exactly do these ancient inscriptions tell us? They speak of cosmic laws, of unseen forces that govern all things, of the power within the mind to shape and control reality. They describe the basic principles of the universe, laws that match with Hermeticism, alchemy, and quantum physics. Among these principles is the famous phrase, "As above, so below. As within, so without." This simple statement contains the entire structure of existence. It tells us that the macrocosm and microcosm reflect each other, that the universe isn't separate from us but mirrors our thoughts. The tablets go further, saying that time itself is an illusion, that past, present, and future exist at once, and that those who master the hidden laws can step outside the bounds of time itself. They speak of the journey of the soul, of consciousness moving beyond death. They talk about the change from mortal being to something more, a higher state beyond the physical world. Some believe the knowledge in the tablets is the foundation of all mystical teachings, from the pyramids of Egypt to modern studies of energy, vibration, and frequency. Could Thoth have left behind not just wisdom, but a blueprint for human evolution? Yet, despite their power, mainstream history barely acknowledges the tablets. They're dismissed as myth, as legend, as symbolic writings with no real importance. But why? Who gains from keeping this knowledge buried? The truth is that throughout history, those in power have always feared those who think for themselves. The Emerald Tablets, if truly understood, would break the illusion that we are limited beings, that we're bound by the constraints of this world. They teach that we are more, far more, than what we've been led to believe. Here's where the mystery gets even more interesting. Some accounts claim that the emerald tablets were never lost at all. They say secret societies, mystery schools, and powerful elites have guarded them for centuries, using their knowledge in ways the world was never meant to know. Could it be that the secrets of making things happen, controlling energy, and divine consciousness have been hidden in plain sight? Have they been disguised in fragmented philosophies, waiting for truth seekers to piece them together? If so, what happens when that truth is finally found? One thing is certain: Thoth didn't leave his teachings to be forgotten. He made sure the wisdom of the tablets would be preserved, not just in physical form, but in the fabric of reality itself. Those who seek knowledge, who question the nature of existence, who look beyond illusion will be drawn to these truths. But the question remains: are you ready to see beyond the illusion? Because once you do, there's no turning back. And if the emerald tablets hold the keys to consciousness, what does that say about their creator? What did Thoth truly understand about the mind, thought, and the power of awareness? To answer that, we must look at the greatest finding of all: Thoth's mastery over consciousness, and how his teachings point to a universe far more mysterious than we could ever imagine. If the emerald tablets show the hidden laws of the universe, then Thoth himself must have understood something much greater. He wasn't just a god of writing or wisdom. He was the architect of consciousness itself. The ancients didn't simply honor him as a scribe. They saw him as a master of reality, someone who grasped the very fabric of existence and knew how to shape it. But what did Thoth truly understand? What knowledge did he have that has been broken up, hidden, or dismissed over the centuries? The answer may lie in the very nature of consciousness itself. Throughout history, mystics, philosophers, and scientists have tried to define what consciousness really is. Where does it come from? Is it created by the brain, or is it something much bigger, something independent of physical form? Modern science tries to reduce it to just brain activity, but Thoth's teachings suggest something completely different. He understood that consciousness isn't limited to the mind. It's the basic force behind reality itself. According to his wisdom, reality isn't something we passively watch, but something we actively shape. It's a construct, a field of energy that responds to the vibrations of thought and intent. Thoth described the universe as being made up of different planes of existence. Each plane has its own laws, and each one is connected through the power of the mind. His teachings match eerily well with what modern physics is only beginning to understand: the idea that at a basic level, reality acts like a quantum field where observation affects matter. In this view, consciousness itself may be the hidden variable shaping the material world. If this is true, then our understanding of reality is incomplete. We aren't merely physical beings moving through a fixed universe. We're participants, creators, co-authors of existence itself. One of Thoth's greatest findings was the illusion of time. He didn't see time as linear, as something moving from past to future. Instead, he described it as cyclical, layered, something that could be bent and crossed. If time isn't what we think it is, what does that mean for memory? What does it mean for destiny? What does it mean for the very structure of reality? The emerald tablets speak of the halls of Amenti, a mystical plane where time collapses, where past, present, and future exist at once. This idea aligns closely with the concept of the Akashic records. The Akashic records are thought to be an ethereal record of all that has ever happened, is happening, and will happen. Could Thoth have had access to this knowledge? Did he understand how to step beyond time itself, to exist outside its limits, to witness reality from a viewpoint beyond human perception? His teachings also talk about the nature of vibration, an idea that has echoed in spiritual traditions for thousands of years. Everything in existence vibrates: energy, thought, matter. The difference between the physical and non-physical is simply a difference in frequency. Those who understand this, who can tune their consciousness to higher vibrations, gain access to worlds beyond the physical, beyond ordinary senses. This is why the ancients didn't just see Thoth as a god, but as a bridge between worlds, a being who could navigate the hidden dimensions of existence. If consciousness is the key to shaping reality, why isn't this knowledge widespread? Why are people still taught that they're separate from the universe, powerless in the face of circumstance? The answer is unsettling. A population that understands the power of its own consciousness is impossible to control. If you knew, truly knew, that your thoughts shape your experience, that your mind isn't confined by the limits placed on it, would you accept the world as it is, or would you begin to reshape it? This is the knowledge that has been hidden, watered down, and kept from the masses. It's why spiritual texts are rewritten, why the mystical is labeled as myth, why those who seek truth are often made fun of. But despite every attempt to suppress it, Thoth's wisdom has never fully disappeared. It has survived in symbols, in secret societies, in the whispered teachings of those who have glimpsed beyond. For those ready to listen, it's still there, waiting to be understood. But Thoth's understanding of consciousness wasn't limited to thought and vibration. He also showed something even more mysterious, the idea that death itself is an illusion. If consciousness is eternal, what happens after we leave this physical world? Does Thoth's wisdom extend beyond life, beyond the limits of what we think is possible? The answer may change everything. If Thoth had the knowledge of consciousness, time, and the hidden structure of reality, then the most important question remains: did he ever truly die? Or did he master the ultimate secret, the ability to move beyond death, to exist beyond the limits of the physical form? For centuries, spiritual traditions have hinted at something amazing. Thoth never ceased to exist. Instead, he continued to walk among humanity, being born again throughout history under different names. He appeared in different forms, always returning when his wisdom was needed most. In Egyptian myth, Thoth was shown as an immortal being, one who had seen the dawn of creation and who would exist beyond the end of time itself. Unlike the other gods, he wasn't born divine through family or worship. He was self-created, a force that emerged beyond the material world. He was said to have recorded all knowledge, not just of the gods, but of humanity's past, present, and future. And in the mystery schools of Egypt, it was believed that he had perfected the ability to leave his body at will. He could travel between dimensions and return in different forms, always carrying fragments of his past wisdom. One of the most well-known identities linked to Thoth is Hermes Trismegistus, the legendary sage of the Hermetic tradition. The Greeks, upon meeting Egyptian wisdom, saw clear similarities between Thoth and Hermes. Hermes was the messenger of the gods, the guide of souls, the master of secret knowledge. But Hermes Trismegistus wasn't merely a god in their eyes. He was a man, an enlightened figure who wrote deep philosophical and mystical texts. These included the Hermetic corpus, which formed the basis for alchemy, astrology, and sacred geometry. To the Hermeticists, Hermes was Thoth reborn, continuing his divine mission under a new name in a new age. But Hermes Trismegistus was only one of many. Some traditions claim Thoth's reincarnations go even further, appearing throughout different civilizations as great teachers, visionaries, and philosophers. His presence can be seen in the legends of Enoch, the biblical patriarch who was said to have walked with God and ascended to heaven without dying. Some even suggest he influenced the teaching of Pythagoras, whose mathematical discoveries mirrored the sacred geometry found in Egyptian temples. Others point to the ascended masters of ancient mystery schools, figures who had knowledge beyond their time, whose writings and teachings seem to carry echoes of Thoth's original wisdom. What if the greatest minds in history weren't just influenced by Thoth's teachings, but were Thoth himself? What if he returned again and again to guide humanity? If this is true, the implications are huge. It suggests that certain souls, those who reach a level of enlightenment, can move through time. They don't forget their past lives as we understand reincarnation. They're fully aware of their purpose. They carry forward the knowledge they gained in previous lives. This would explain why certain ancient texts describe the process of ascension not as a spiritual metaphor, but as a literal change. In this change, the physical body is left behind, and the soul continues, free from the cycle of birth and death. But if Thoth has been reborn multiple times, if he has returned throughout history to guide humanity, then where is he now? Has he appeared again in modern times, hidden behind another identity, waiting for those ready to recognize him? Or has his wisdom been scattered, waiting to be pieced together? One thing is certain: his influence never truly disappeared. His teachings have remained embedded in spiritual traditions, in secret knowledge passed down through the ages. Those who connect with his wisdom, those who feel drawn to his mysteries, may be closer to finding the truth than they realize. Because Thoth's greatest finding wasn't just about knowledge, it was about what lies beyond this world. If his teachings are correct, then death itself is an illusion, and the journey of the soul is far greater than we've been led to believe. But what did Thoth truly know about the afterlife? How did he describe the process of rising beyond the physical? That's the next mystery we must solve. If Thoth was more than a god, if he was a force beyond time, a being who was reborn across the ages, then his understanding of death must have been unlike anything we've been taught. The ancient Egyptians didn't see death as an end. To them, it was a transition, a doorway to another state of being, a passage through which the soul would either rise to greater knowledge or be trapped in the cycle of rebirth. And at the center of this understanding was Thoth. He was the keeper of wisdom, the guide of souls, the one who recorded the fate of the dead in the Book of Life. But was this just mythology? Or did Thoth leave behind something far greater, a hidden truth about what happens after we leave this world? The Egyptian Book of the Dead describes the journey of the soul after death. It tells of the trials the soul must go through, the tests that determine whether it is worthy of rising beyond. The most famous of these is the weighing of the heart, where the deceased stands before Osiris. Their heart is placed on a scale against the feather of Ma'at, the symbol of divine truth and balance. If the heart is light, the soul moves forward into higher worlds. If it's heavy, burdened by sin, it's devoured, and the soul must return, being born again into the physical world to try again. But what's rarely discussed is that Thoth was the one who recorded these judgments. He wasn't just watching passively. He was the one who wrote down the fate of the soul, who understood the real workings of how existence functions beyond the physical plane. And here's where the mystery gets even more interesting. In the Emerald Tablets, Thoth doesn't speak of death as an end. He doesn't describe the afterlife in terms of reward and punishment. Instead, he speaks of change, of the ability to rise beyond, to break free from the cycle altogether. He describes the halls of Amenti, a place beneath the earth where souls travel between lives. But he also speaks of beings, masters of the ancient ways. These masters don't die. Instead, they choose when to leave their physical form, existing in a high state of awareness. These beings, according to Thoth, have learned to navigate the unseen forces of the universe, to rise beyond material limitations. What does this mean? Could Thoth have been not just a god of wisdom, but a guide to something much greater? A system of knowledge that allows the soul to consciously control its journey through life, death, and beyond. Modern physics is beginning to figure out the strange nature of consciousness. Some theories suggest that awareness isn't confined to the body, that it exists independently of the brain. Ancient spiritual traditions have always talked about this, describing the ability to leave the body, to travel beyond the limits of the physical. If Thoth's teachings match with this, then what we call death isn't an end. It's a shift, a movement from one state to another, guided by the knowledge one has gained. It's no wonder that many secret societies have been obsessed with Thoth's teachings, from the ancient mystery schools to modern esoteric orders. If consciousness can exist beyond the body, those who master it wouldn't be bound by physical rules. If this knowledge were available to all, then death itself would lose its power as a tool of control. Perhaps this is why so much of Thoth's wisdom has been hidden, locked away, obscured by time and deliberate deception. If people truly understood that they are more than their bodies, that they're part of something eternal, the structure of fear that rules the world would fall. But there's something even more mysterious. Thoth himself spoke of those who don't simply pass through the afterlife, but who return time and time again as guides, teachers, and guardians of knowledge. Could the greatest spiritual figures throughout history, those who have awakened humanity to higher truths, be connected to Thoth's lineage? Did they tap into the same knowledge, the same hidden laws of consciousness and reality that he recorded long ago? And if so, what does that mean for us? If Thoth was right, we aren't bound by fate. We aren't powerless in the face of death. We're part of something far greater, something that has been hidden but never truly lost. If we can reclaim this knowledge, if we can wake up to what has been forgotten, then we may finally understand what Thoth knew all along, that life and death are just two sides of the same illusion. But if that illusion has been used to keep humanity in ignorance, what other truths have been erased from history? How much more of Thoth's wisdom has been buried, hidden, changed? The answer may be more shocking than we ever imagined. If Thoth understood the true nature of consciousness, time, and existence itself, why has his wisdom been buried under layers of myth and secrecy? Why is it that his teachings, which once shaped the foundation of ancient civilizations, are now dismissed as legend or ignored altogether? The more we look, the more clear it becomes that Thoth's knowledge was never meant for everyone. It was preserved in symbols, hidden within sacred texts, passed down as whispers. But who decided that this wisdom should be concealed, and what happens when it's finally rediscovered? Throughout history, we see a pattern. Great knowledge is always suppressed, always hidden from the public, always kept in the hands of a select few. The ancient Egyptians held their mysteries in the temples. They revealed them only to the initiated. The Greeks turned Thoth into Hermes Trismegistus, encoding his teachings in Hermetic texts. These were accessible only to those who sought them out. In the Middle Ages, alchemists and mystics guarded his wisdom in allegories, disguising truth in symbols. Even today, traces of Thoth's knowledge remain hidden in plain sight, woven into philosophy, quantum physics, and esoteric traditions. But why? If this knowledge is meant to enlighten humanity, why has it been systematically buried, watered down, or ridiculed? The answer is simple. True wisdom is dangerous to those who seek control. If people understood that they aren't powerless, that they create their own reality, that consciousness shapes existence itself, the structures that govern the world would crumble. Religious institutions, political systems, financial empires, they all rely on the idea that power is external, that authority lies outside the individual. Thoth's teachings dismantle that illusion. They show that power is internal, that enlightenment isn't granted but earned, that divinity isn't separate from us, it's within us. Consider the Emerald Tablets, a text that describes not only the laws of the universe, but the keys to rising beyond the physical world. If these tablets were simply ancient mythology, why do secret societies, occultists, and elite groups continue to reference them? Why have scholars, philosophers, and alchemists dedicated their lives to figuring out their messages? Could it be that the fragments we have today are just pieces of something much larger? Has this knowledge been deliberately obscured over time? Some accounts claim that certain passages from the tablets have been deliberately removed, hidden from public access. Others suggest that the true knowledge of Thoth has been kept within elite circles, passed down only to those deemed worthy of it. And then, there's the most unsettling possibility of all, that the full knowledge of Thoth never disappeared, but was instead weaponized. Has it been used by those in power to shape the world according to their own desires, while keeping the rest of humanity blind to its possibilities? If this is true, then the greatest secret isn't just that Thoth's wisdom exists, but that it has been used against us. It's been turned into a tool, not for freedom, but for control. But here's the truth they don't want you to realize. Thoth's knowledge cannot be erased. It has survived for thousands of years, resurfacing again and again in different forms, waiting for those who are ready to see it. The question is, what will you do with it? Will you dismiss it as myth, as superstition, as something irrelevant to your life? Or will you begin to look more carefully, to question everything you've been told, to seek out the wisdom that has been deliberately kept from you? Because once you start down this path, there's no turning back. The illusion begins to crumble, and what's left is something far more powerful than you ever imagined. Thoth's teachings were never just about knowledge. They were about change, about breaking free from the illusions that bind us, about reclaiming the divine power that has always been within us. But knowledge alone isn't enough. Waking up is only the first step. The real question is how you'll use this knowledge. How will you apply it in your own life? And what will happen when more and more people begin to remember what was once forgotten? Because the time of forgetting is over. The age of waking up has begun. And Thoth's wisdom, hidden for so long, is finally being remembered. But the quest doesn't end here. Now that we've found what was lost, we must ask ourselves, how do we use this knowledge to truly wake up? And more importantly, how do we break free from the forces that have kept it hidden for so long? That's the next step. That's where true change begins. Knowledge by itself isn't enough. You can find the hidden truths, decode the ancient wisdom, and glimpse beyond the illusions of this world. But unless you apply it, unless you let it change how you think, perceive, and act, it remains just information. It's powerful, yes, but powerless in your hands. Thoth didn't preserve his teachings just for people to observe passively. He left behind a blueprint for those willing to wake up, for those ready to step beyond the limits placed upon them. The question is, are you truly ready to use it? Thoth's teachings were never about mere intellect. They were about understanding the nature of reality on a level so deep that it changes everything. He spoke of the mind as the architect of existence, the shaper of worlds, the force that bends reality itself. The principle of as above, so below, as within, so without, isn't just poetic wisdom. It's a direct statement of how the universe works. What happens within you is reflected in the world around you. What you think, feel, and believe shapes the very reality you experience. This is why consciousness is the most valuable and most controlled force in existence. The system doesn't need to imprison you physically when it can do so mentally. If it can dictate what you believe to be true, it has already shaped the world in which you live. This is where Thoth's wisdom becomes more than just historical interest. It's a key to undoing the conditioning, to breaking free. His knowledge shows that you aren't just watching this reality passively. You're a creator. The limits you see, the obstacles you face, the very nature of your existence is a result of the vibrational patterns set by your own consciousness. If you understand this, you can begin to change it. You can begin to rewrite the reality you experience. But waking up isn't easy. It requires unlearning. It requires dismantling the false stories, the conditioned responses, the deep-rooted beliefs that have shaped how you see yourself in the world. It demands that you step into uncertainty, that you question why you accepted what you were taught. Thoth's teachings guide those who seek truth through this process. But there's one big obstacle that stops most people from taking the first step. Fear. Fear is the most powerful tool of control ever created. It's the mechanism by which people stay stuck. They resist change even when they sense the truth calling to them. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of stepping outside what society accepts. These keep people in check. But Thoth's wisdom cuts through this illusion. He knew that fear isn't something to avoid, but to understand. It's a signal, a threshold between what is known and what is possible. Those who recognize this, who refuse to let fear control their actions, are the ones who truly wake up. This is why Thoth's teachings were hidden, not because they were meant to be kept from you, but because the world was designed to keep you from them. To access this knowledge requires a change in perception, an ability to see beyond the surface of what's presented to you. This is why those who seek truth are ridiculed, why those who challenge the system are dismissed as delusional, why those who speak of a truth are met with resistance. The moment you begin to wake up, the illusion loses its power. But knowledge alone doesn't break the cycle. It's action that dismantles control. It's practice that changes wisdom into experience. It's one thing to understand that your consciousness shapes reality. It's another to actively live as if that were true. What thoughts do you entertain? What beliefs do you reinforce? What limits do you place on yourself without question? These are the real prisons, the ones that Thoth sought to help humanity escape. But the question remains, how do you use this knowledge? How do you take these ancient truths and apply them in the modern world? How do you reclaim what has been suppressed for so long? That's the next step, the final piece of the puzzle. Because waking up is only the beginning. The real challenge, the real test, is what you do with it. If you're ready, then it's time to take action. It's time to break free. Waking up is only the first step. Knowledge without action is nothing more than words, ideas without form, possibilities left unrealized. Thoth's wisdom was never meant to be passively observed. It was meant to be applied, to be lived, to be integrated into every moment of existence. He didn't just teach that reality was shaped by consciousness. He provided the means to use that understanding, to step beyond limitation, to reclaim the true power hidden within. But the real question is, will you use it? Or will you fall back into the comfortable illusion that was built to contain you? The first step in applying Thoth's wisdom is changing how you see reality. You've been conditioned to believe that the external world is fixed, that what you see, touch, and experience is something outside of you, independent of your mind. This illusion keeps you trapped, making you believe that you're subject to forces beyond your control. But Thoth taught that reality doesn't exist separately from the observer. It's fluid, shaped by frequency, intention, and consciousness. Once you understand this, everything changes. The limits you thought were real begin to dissolve. The idea of fate, of predestined suffering, of a life dictated by external circumstances, all of it falls apart. The second step is mastering your thoughts. Thoth showed that thought isn't passive, it's the architect of existence. Every idea you hold, every belief you reinforce, every expectation you place upon reality is a vibrational imprint that molds the world around you. You've already been using this ability, but unconsciously, directed by programming designed to keep you within boundaries. Every system in place, education, religion, media, has conditioned you to think in ways that reinforce limitations. But the moment you reclaim your thoughts, the moment you consciously choose what to believe, what to expect, and what to create, you step into the role of the creator rather than the created. The third step is breaking the cycle of fear. Fear is the mechanism by which control is maintained. The fear of failure, of rejection, of stepping outside what is deemed acceptable keeps people obedient to a system that doesn't serve them. Thoth understood that fear is an illusion, a distortion of perception designed to limit human possibilities. The moment you stop fearing the unknown, the moment you welcome uncertainty as a gateway to growth, you dismantle the greatest tool of control ever created. Those who walk this path, who refuse to be ruled by fear, are the ones who break free from the illusions that bind the rest of humanity. Thoth's wisdom was never meant for the few. It was meant for those who are ready. But readiness isn't about knowledge alone. It's about action. It's about stepping beyond theory and embodying truth. You have been given the keys. The choice is now yours. Will you continue to live as you have, shaped by illusions and limitations? Or will you take the next step, begin to apply these principles, and reshape reality itself? Because Thoth didn't simply record knowledge. He showed the way, and those who follow it will never see the world the same way again. But there's one final question left to answer. If all of this is true, if reality itself can be reshaped by consciousness, then what does that mean for the future? And what role will you play in shaping it? Everything changes the moment you understand the truth. When you finally see beyond the illusion, when you realize that reality isn't fixed but fluid, something that responds to your consciousness, you can't go back to the way things were. You begin to notice the patterns, the constructs designed to keep you blind, the invisible forces that have dictated your beliefs, your fears, your limitations. And then, for the first time, you understand that you were never truly bound by any of it. The door was never locked. You only believed it was. Thoth's wisdom wasn't just about knowledge. It was about change. He didn't leave behind words for the sake of history. He left behind a blueprint, a key to the hidden workings of existence. Those who have discovered it, who have studied the emerald tablets, hermetic principles, and the mysteries woven through time, understand that waking up isn't a moment. It's a process. And that process doesn't end with awareness. It begins there. Because once you see the nature of reality, you face a choice. Will you step into your power, or will you ignore it? Will you use this knowledge, or will you let it remain an intellectual curiosity? Because knowing isn't enough. The world is shaped by those who act. For centuries, humanity has been trapped in cycles of forgetting and remembering. Great knowledge has appeared only to be buried again. Powerful teachings have awakened minds only to be changed. watered down, or lost in time. But what happens when enough people wake up? What happens when the cycle is broken, when the knowledge can no longer be suppressed, when the illusions crumble under the weight of truth? The future isn't set in stone. It's being created now in every moment by those who choose to remember. The reality we live in reflects the collective mind. The systems of control exist because enough people believe in them. The limitations of society continue because they're reinforced by those who accept them. But just as the past was shaped by those who used knowledge, the future will be shaped by those who reclaim it. This is what Thoth understood, that the mind is the true architect, that belief is the foundation of existence, that those who master their consciousness will master reality itself. But the quest doesn't end here. If anything, this is only the beginning. There's still so much that has been hidden, so much that remains to be found. And if you've followed this path, if you feel pulled toward these truths, then you aren't alone. There are mysteries too vast, too powerful to be shared openly. But for those who look for them, the doors will always appear. The knowledge is there, waiting to be found. But it requires action, commitment, and the willingness to step beyond the limits of what most people think is possible. The advanced truths of Thoth's wisdom, the ideas that can't be fully discussed here, are available for those who seek them. The chance is here. The question is, will you take it? Because knowledge is power, but applied knowledge is freedom. And now you have the choice. If this video connected with you, let us know by commenting, "I understood it,"